And welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Peter Winnick. I'm the founder and CEO of Thought Leadership Leverage. And you're joining us on our podcast today, which is Leveraging Thought Leadership. And today, my guest is Greg Witt. Greg is a speaker, he's an author of the Gen Z Frequency, and he's been a director and hands on leader of Youthvine, which has now been rebranded as SureShot, which is a proprietary global online community that enables brands to rapidly and cost effectively engage tweens, teens, and young adults for insights, co creation, and influencer marketing. That's a mouthful. Anyway, Greg, welcome aboard.
Yeah, and I'm super stoked to be here. And now the officially the chief strategy officer of Engage Youth Company.
Oh, very nice. There we go.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Otherwise, I'd be talking to myself, which wouldn't be much of a podcast. So I've got this thing for guests. So let's your core business, if you will, or the primary business is on the consulting side, right? On the branding and the consulting.
Yeah, it's primarily on the brand and marketing strategies designed to help brands or organizations reach tweens, teens, and young adults. So it really goes from insights guided strategies and then a marketing engagement program.
Got it. So one could argue that in some instances, the thought leadership, the books, the speaking, the all that other fun stuff is to some degree an indirect path to get clients you sort of to engage with you. Would you agree or?
Absolutely. I mean, the whole idea is to share value, build true relationships where myself and our team can add value to the companies that we serve, and also so that there's some form of a positive impact with the organization or the young people that we connect with as well.
So talk to me a bit about, most of the content that you put out there, and it's really good, and the speaking that you do, and the books that you get out, or all that heavy lifting around the thought leadership is in essence going to individuals and teams and organizations and people that won't become your clients, but asterisk, right? There's the subset that will. So I love the sort of the spirit of generosity. Talk to me about sort of how you make the decisions to allocate the resources to get the content out there to serve sort of the tribe, meaning the sort of the non-paying universe, and ultimately those that become the client.
I guess it's just if you share the wealth, I don't know if it's karma, but like enough comes back to you, right? I think that our team has enough experience in the space to know that you can kind of give it away to a certain extent. There's definitely little aspects of secret sauce in our methodologies, but the idea of really give it away and enough comes back to us. I think we're just such a collaborative group of people that we've earned our chops and we paid our dues, so to speak, in the space. We're really like, every once in a while, an real original idea comes out there. But if not, it's the remixes and the relevance that we're bringing. We're essentially selling cultural relevance for our clients, and that's something that we've learned over time how to do that and how not to do that.
So I've talked about this issue before with others in terms of this giveaway issue. So I'm a firm believer that for most thought leaders and authors and speakers, most of the time, give it all away, right? Occasionally you have something that's proprietary, you have a competitive advantage that, for a period of time or whatever. But for the most part, the more you give away, the more you get, which is ironic, right? Because the subset of the universe that consumes your content, on their own, they maybe they buy a book or read a blog and attempts to or actually succeeds in implementing on their own, probably weren't going to be your clients anyway.
Right.
And I think that's a big aha for people because it's like, oh, let me hide it. So could you talk to me on that, sort of on that point, like the sort of the power of having the confidence to give it away?
I think I think you've said it. You just nailed it with the confidence. Like if you've got the confidence, give it. But when we say give it away, one of the key parts is of a content strategy when we're talking thought leadership is, key pieces are also gated. So
Right.
it is giving it away, but it's not always just giving it away into sort of the cyber, into cyberspace or just to anyone. It's about being real strategic on what content items that you're gating and what content you're making available to everyone and understanding your audience and really truly building a community. Because it's important to understand like who specifically you're talking to, and and then learn from them as to what type of content will they download, and what information to fill out is too much, what's not enough.
What's the balance? Yeah.
Yeah, what's the balance? I try to look at it like probably like 1/10 gated.
Right.
I give a lot away, but everything that's glued together, like the stuff that's gated, is glued together in a much more comprehensive fashion. So one's incentivized to come for the larger, more comprehensive pieces.
Totally get it. So give me a sense of talk about your time, right? So you've got to serve clients and generate revenue and attract clients and all those other sort of things. What percentage of your time do you spend sort of, let's just put it in a thought leadership bucket, be that speaking, be that writing, book, whatever. How much of your time in the aggregate does that consume?
Yeah, well, because my role is on growth and on team building and on overseeing strategic teams. I'm more like 60% on overall growth, building the team, making sure that our methodologies are tight, our overall the way that we're working tight, and then another 40% because we're not a huge company, so we're at the same point in time. There's a certain amount of hands-on sort of expecting the leadership team involved. So we're not just for our type of company, we're not just putting it into the machine and and hoping something great comes out. We have very seasoned youth cultural experts involved. So, but yeah, I mean, my main focus is building teams of just incredibly talented, Gen Z, or not just limited to Gen Z strategists, so that I can continue to also like see the forest as well as the trees.
Yeah. No, but what I was going for is it takes a chunk of time to develop the content, to deliver the content, to refine the content that is the thought leadership underneath everything. How much of your time is focused on that? That's what I was looking
It's all encompassed in the 60%. I mean, I would say you're probably like if you're it's pretty equal, like the content creation effort is equal to the distribution effort.
for. Got it.
And so that sometimes people don't get.
Well, no, let's go there because that's a great statement. Because one of the things I see so frequently in the clients that I work with and the folks that we talk to is you get sort of the prototypical creative, which anybody that creates content is creative. They're prolific and they love to research and they love to refine and they love to they can sit on a plane and bang out 30 blogs going cross country and all that kind of stuff. And I sort of always feel like the curmudgeon and say, yeah, that's all great, but so what? Meaning, believe me, it's not easy to write a book, but the distribution, which is sort of what you touched on, is an equal amount of effort. It's a different type of work. It's a different type of skill set, and not everybody enjoys it so much. So tell me a little bit about that part because that's sort of the I don't say the dark underbelly, but it's not the part that everybody talks about enough in terms of how hard is it to get your brilliant ideas out in the world so they see the light of day.
Well, it's the hardest thing to do is to build community and have an audience of people that want to hear your thought leadership, whatever it is. So when I look at that effort is extensive because these relationships have to be more than online. These relationships need to be truly built. And that, yes, there can be just followers on social, but if you really want to build that community, it's going to be you taking that time to reciprocate, be an actual, colleague, or friend, depending on the kind of type of market. I'm primarily talking about thought leadership for business, obviously.
And not Tinder swipe left, right?
So yeah, I mean, I literally do. Like, not I can't say that I've done it for 26,000 people, but I have almost everyone whom I interact with on a weekly, monthly basis. We have either met in person or we have gotten on a phone call or we're planning one.
Today, my guest is David Mamano. David is a serial entrepreneur. He is a TEDx speaker. He's an adjunct professor. He's a graduate of the MIT Entrepreneurial Masters Program, an author, a speaker, and obviously deeply involved in the content and thought leadership world. So, welcome aboard, David. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Peter. Really appreciate it. For your listeners, I want to kind of expand on something you just said. Just go with where the market is telling you to go. And so a friend of mine, Dr. Nito Quibin, is the president of High Point University.
Yep.
And
Yep.
he took over when it was like going out of business. They called it like
Yep.
the sheep farm college. I mean, it was like deserted. And he took it over and he literally raised like $700 million, bought all this land, quadrupled the size of the campus, right? And so the maintenance people came to him, construction people came to him and said, hey, where are we going to put the walkways, the paths, And he goes, for the first year, nowhere. Let's just see naturally where the students walk, because we can see their path after a while, and that's where we'll put the walkways. I think that's a very good business lesson too. You can try to tell people what they want, but when you just kind of like listen to them and see where it goes, that's your business model.
So I want to confirm what you said 1,000%. Oftentimes, particularly in the content space, right? So we are not in a business that forces you to do a lot of product development prior to shipment. And I think the mistake that I've seen a lot of authors and thought leaders and speakers make, and when I say mistake, meaning wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars, is coming up with the quote, brilliant idea in isolation in the laboratory or surrounded by their peers and friends and whatnot, and then go immediately into development mode, very linear, then go into marketing and sales mode. And then you find out the depressing reality when you're in marketing and sales mode after something is built that, if it came in pink, if, you get a lot of these ifs or not for me, but that you could have if you changed your process and said, wait a minute, let me talk to the market before I make those huge investments. So I have to put some thinking in and say, I'm thinking of developing an assessment tool that assesses the following, or building a video-based training system that trains the following people to do the following things. Have those conversations. The market will tell you what it wants, and it's got to vote with their dollars, not with what you think. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what the market thinks. So I concur.
Yeah, and it's not always research. I've done research before. People tell me what I want to hear, and then I launch it, and it fails. It's almost like you got to follow their dollars. Are they willing to spend money on it? Are they willing to actually partake in the business model?
Well, and that's a great point, because there's a difference between research people telling you, yeah, I would love to buy a flying car, and then the follow-up question will be, great, we'll have those ready in 2 years. Can I take a deposit? Right? And I think that's really the differentiator here. If you look, for example, at what Tesla has done, lots of people said, yeah, that's really cool. 400,000 people have put $1,000 up to buy a Model 3. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah. So they know it's going to work.
Yeah, exactly. If you're enjoying this episode of Leveraging Thought Leadership, please make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to help spread the word about our podcast, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. We're available on Apple Podcast and on all major listening apps, as well as at thoughtleadershipleverage.com/podcasts.
I'm going to go online on my social network, LinkedIn, Facebook, and I'm just going to ask my network if they are interested in learning more about kind of the Vistage Lite. And so 94 people commented that they thought it was a great idea. And so coffee meetings and real meetings the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, signed up 45 people, $500 a year. And everything is free. I didn't spend any money on marketing the group. I got a company that has a lot of conference rooms to donate space. So there's no cost for me. I have 45 people that we meet monthly. And it's really kind of a confidential mastermind, think tank, peer group is probably the best way to describe it.
Well, it's also a paid R&D lab for you, because there's not a ton of money in it for you, 45 people at $500, but it's better that the money is coming towards you during this sort of initial R&D phase, as opposed to you investing and failing, right? So you're onto something. If you got 45 people, they can't all be wrong, throwing up some money saying, that sounds like an interesting idea, tell me more. And not only are they giving their money, which is important, but I find today time is almost as, if not more important for some subset of the market than money, right? So I can afford $500, but spending 2 hours a month with you, that's a challenge, right? I've got to really say, what is the value I'm going to extract from that 2 hours? Because I've got lots of things to do and I'm busy and all these other sort of things. So I love that you got real-time market validation, rapid prototyping, and going after a niche in the market. And now, how long has this been going on? A couple of months, these groups?
Well, no, it's been, I think we're about to have our 8th meeting now.
Okay, so almost a year or so. So what, if anything, has bubbled up in terms of future product offering, product roadmap based on the needs of the market?
So Great question. So a couple things bubbled up, and once again, I didn't even predict this. You know, we were laughing before we started recording that I like to think, oh, I have all these great ideas, and you know, at the end, a lot of them fail. This one I didn't even plan; it just happened. So I got 45 people. Actually, I have almost 50 people now, and so I actually, because I'm a coach, some people have, I'll say, upgraded and purchased my coaching. Right, so I got some clients out of it. So now I'm like, oh, this is a model. This is a model for coaches or any business person that wants to surround themselves with other business owners because maybe they can't have an upsell product for them. It could be a CPA, financial advisor, a lot of different things. So now what I'm doing is I'm packaging it up to license it so people can start chapters in different communities. So there could be, if there's a Dave Bomano in Buffalo and Cleveland and Dubai,
Yep.
What they could do is get an Avanti chapter, and they could be the chapter chair. And I have this whole suite of services to help them run their chapter, get them leads, coach them, materials, curriculum, etc., content, everything to help. And then powers and numbers, right?
Yeah, let me just pause you for a second. So there's two things happening simultaneously there. One, people are asking for more of you. Now that's a limited resource. There's only so much of you, et cetera. But geez, if 10, 20% of the group of 45 or 50 want some coaching and you have the bandwidth and that makes sense for you, great. But simultaneously, the scalable side of this is the franchise is a legal term, but basically developing the templates and the framework by which others can replicate and form some sort of a business opportunity relationship with you around that.
Absolutely. And that was a nice little surprise. I didn't even mean to do it. And I don't think anybody should. I don't think you should start a group to like overtly say, hey, can you join my peer group? Because I want to sell you my coaching services. It's kind of, I'll say the Trojan horse, right? So you're 50 people in your group. They're bound to. Some of them are going to say, oh, Dave, oh, John, oh, Maria, you're a coach? I need coaching services. So I think it's a nice way, a nice alternative than cold calling or just doing the traditional networking. Is being a resource for people, and as you know, part of being a great resource to people is providing them great content to help them learn and grow.
And my guest today is Nancy Halpern. She is a leadership consultant who facilitates high-impact offsites and coaches executives aspiring to the C-suite. She is a pioneer in the field of leadership development. She's been interviewed on the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Financial Times, Inc., Fortune, Fast Company. The list goes on and on and on. And she's going to spend some time with us today and tell us her story. So welcome, Nancy, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, Peter, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. It's much more exciting than being in any of those publications you've just mentioned.
Well, I was going to say, clearly, CNN must be interesting and all that, but, fake news and all. But thank you for joining us today. So
this is not fake news. I climbed the ladder so I could meet you, Peter. And I really sincerely feel that way.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about, because this is a common thread that we see working with a wide variety of authors and speakers and thought leaders around the world. I don't know if they'd use the exact same words, but this lost in your own head, meaning you see it, you're passionate about it, you're working on it, you're studying it, you're researching it, you're writing about it, et cetera. I hear that a lot. And one of the ahas that I hear is the more that you have the ability to spar with someone, but not just on an intellectual basis, that's sort of fun, but from combining the intellectual with the business application side and lose and wrong and win and all that other sort of stuff. But sort of having that sparring around the content with the intent or with the objective of being able to formulate it in such a way so it is readily available to an organization at scale. So touch on that a little bit, if you could.
Sure. There was this book a zillion years ago. I think it was called The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. So I think there's a loneliness of the thought leader where I miss having colleagues that I can test my own ideas with, or they're going to hear something that you don't hear. It's like being a presentation coach, which I did in my early days of coaching. You can't objectify yourself. If my ideas are valid, I need them validated externally. Otherwise, they just make me feel nice. So yeah, it's not, the sparring is a sort of organic growth strategy, if that makes sense, right? Because it's, who's going to tell you no? I mean, your clients might, but...
Well, clients do by not working with you. I mean, then they're not going to tell you no from an intellectual perspective. It's the market says no because they don't buy what you have to offer.
Yeah, but I tried to leverage my thought leadership once all by myself before. And I built this whole online platform. I thought I was going to extend coaching down to the lower ranks. And I contracted someone to build a website. There were a lot of problems at getting off the ground. And it failed. It really failed. And it turned out the reason it failed was because my clients loved it, but the users did. I never even thought that I should be testing the concept with users because I figured my clients are the one paying. Well, they're not going to pay if their employees aren't going to use it. So, I think what I learned from that is that you can't always go it alone. I think thought leaders feel that they should or they need to, but the fact is other people can illuminate your ideas and improve your ideas and work with you on basically monetizing your ideas. And I'd like to be able to monetize my ideas and see what life it has beyond just my thoughts.
Well said. Out there right now is you minus 10 years, 15 years, whatever. And they're sort of at that cusp and they're considering, hey, I can take another job as a management consultant or an investment bank or whatever the case may be, but I'm really passionate about X. Doesn't really matter what X is. Maybe I want to go do this on my own. What would you tell that person? Hey, do this, don't do this, or go back to dental school. What advice would you give the young and budding aspiring thought leader?
I would say maybe two or three, no more than that for sure, right? The first is do something that scares you.
Oh, I love that.
Well, it's what I've learned the most from. Like when I went to Burma, I know it's Myanmar, but then it was Burma in 1987 by myself. All right.
That's scary. I'm scared.
I'll say I ended up in Mandalay General Hospital. I mean, but man, you will milk those memories forever. You'll have great stories, but more important than that, you will develop a sense of confidence in your competency and ability to handle anything that comes your way because you did something that really scared the bejesus out of you. And that's one piece of advice. Two, even if you're not a great writer, write because you can't see all the interconnected threads of your own ideas unless you can access them again later and reread it.
So let me just ask you that. So you're writing it not necessarily for an audience per se, but it's a snapshot in time of what you were thinking at a specific point in time, and it's caught it right in its document. Interesting.
Yeah, it's like an intellectual scrapbook, isn't it? And I guess the third, and I think this, some people don't like to do this. I'm a very verbal person and a visual person. And I like to see a picture and the whole framework, and I like to talk about it. So accept the way that you work without apology, especially for women. We spend a lot of time apologizing. And what I'll typically say when a woman says that to me is, you haven't done anything wrong.
Right. So when you say apologies, if you're visual and want to sketch things out, and I'm visual, so I like to draw things, even though I have no artistic talent, don't apologize for that. That's just how my brain works. That's how I'm comfortable, right? There's no need to apologize to anyone for that.
Exactly. So I would say that. I mean, I like to talk ideas out. If you like to talk ideas, that's great. And I guess the last little piece of advice, I'm not sure this is for thought leaders. I just know when I was launching that online platform, it really worked for me. Lots and lots of people out there will tell you what your business will look like when it's big, right? When you've already succeeded. Oh, you'll need to do this and expand there, right? They'll give you all this advice for huge expansion. There is only one person in my life said to me, Jonathan Kahan, so I want to give him a shout out wherever he is. What do you have to do in the next 15 minutes to move this ball forward?
That's awesome.
And I'm like, oh my God, Peter, it was so liberating. And instead of feeling overwhelmed, and oh my God, I don't know where to start, this is so big, it made it small and task oriented. I knew exactly what I needed to do in the next 15 minutes. So it helps you prioritize and focus and select while the trend line is still forward.
To learn more about Thought Leadership Leverage, please visit our website at thoughtleadershipleverage.com. To reach me directly, feel free to email me at peter@thoughtleadershipleverage.com. And please subscribe to Leveraging Thought Leadership on iTunes or your favorite podcast app to get your weekly episode automatically.